Welcome and good afternoon. My name is Kamish Orr, and welcome back to something I like to call Stories from the Maelstrom, a recap of the day's games for this past week of real time. So, as you've seen from the title, the Detroit Rockets have clinched the American League pennant. So, they will face the St. Louis Wizards in the World Series. So, how did it happen? Well, first we had a rain makeup game between Boston and Oakland. Remember, Boston came into this rain makeup game 3.5 games back with 4 games left to play. They actually had 5. Boston had 5 games left to play with the rain makeup. So, let's see what happened in the first game. This one, Boston led 4-0 going into the 6th inning. Gaylord Perry was kind of cruising there for most of that time against Bert Blyleven from Oakland. And that was until the 7th inning, they did score a run in the 6th. Robin Yount had a solo shot, but it was really the 7th where the damage was done. So Boston still led this one 4-1 going into the bottom of the 7th. And that's when the wheels kind of fell apart for Gaylord Perry. George Brett and Joe DiMaggio led off with singles. And then Mickey Cochran hit a 3-run homer to tie the game 4-4. Tris Speaker followed with a single. Reggie Jackson struck out. And then Nellie Fox had another single before Rod Carew cleared the bases with a triple to put the Jacks on top 6-4. Now, Perry came out at this point, and Eckersley got Robin Yount to fly out, and Carew was gunned down at the plate for them to get out of that inning. Oakland would actually score 2 more in the following inning thanks to a Tris Speaker 2-run double. But Boston wouldn't score again, so Oakland took this one 8-4. And with that loss, Boston found themselves 4 games back with 4 games left to play. And they played at noon on the following day. And once again, Oakland topped Boston. So Boston lost 2 in a row here to eliminate them from hopes of going to the World Series, hopes of catching the Detroit Rockets. This one in pretty dramatic fashion. Oakland pretty much put an exclamation point on this one. Now, Boston did score a run in the first inning. Ted Williams, who has been slumping the last 4 or 5 games, actually, grounded out. But Ricky Henderson, who had stole a base and advanced on a flyout, actually scored on the ground out here for the first run. But Jim Palmer didn't quite feel right all inning, and it showed as he couldn't get out of the first inning. George Brett had a 2-run double, and then Joe DiMaggio followed with a 2-run homer. That was 4 of the Oakland's runs, but they weren't done there, as Mickey Cochran and Tris Speaker followed with singles. Nellie Fox walked, and on that play, Palmer came out of the game with a blister on his finger. But he had already allowed 4 runs at that point. Left the bases loaded with 2 outs. Red Ruffing came in relief, and Rod Carew promptly hit a grand slam to put Oakland up 8-1. At that point, most would have counted Boston out of this one, but it was not a time to count them out yet, as in the second inning facing Jack Morris, Lou Gehrig hit a solo shot and Harmon Killebrew hit a 2-run homer to put things at 8-4. Now, Oakland did score another run there in the second to make things 9-4, but Boston still wasn't done and out of it yet, as Lou Gehrig hit his second homer of the game, a 2-run shot, to make the score 9-6. Boston would score another run in the 4th, and they'd score another run in the 6th to make the score 9-8 at that point. And that's when they got to Red Ruffing. Or I should say Red Ruffing kind of lost it there in the 6th inning. allowed a leadoff single to Rod Carew. He did get Derek Jeter to fly out, but then walked 4 straight batters to walk in 2 runs. Lefty Grove came in and walked in another run before he was able to get Reggie Jackson to ground out. He did allow a 2-run single to Nellie Fox, so Oakland scored 6 more runs in the 6th to go up 15-8. So that was pretty much it. Boston did score a run thanks to actually an unearned run in the 9th, but Oakland bats around twice in this one. They totally pummel Palmer. Their eye helps them out against Red Roughing, and they top the Boston Splinters 15-9 to eliminate Boston and put their chances of the playoffs out of reach. So Boston loses a second straight game here. They fall to 27-24. They fall back in the American League race. They can't catch Detroit now. So Detroit, the Detroit Rockets, are going to the World Series. So a couple other games of note. Most of these are going to see the last start for many of these pitchers. So LA is facing Houston at the Astrodome. You had Sandy Koufax and Tom Seaver. Again, both of these teams eliminated, so it was the final starts for both of these pitchers. And Koufax comes out on top in this one. He earns his 8th win. He's going to end the season 8-5 with a 2.5 ERA. 7 innings pitched, 3 earned runs. Tom Seaver not as sharp. He's going to finish the season 5-5. 5 earned runs in 8 innings for him as LA takes this one. Thanks to the 2-run double by Joe Morgan here in the 7th inning that put them ahead to stay. A pretty close game. Goose Gossage picks up his 11th save. Heading over to Detroit. Detroit, who watched Boston lose earlier in the day to send them to the World Series, carrying a 5-game win streak into this one. A lot of celebration going on before the game. But New York would actually take this one and stop the Detroit winning streak. Even though Detroit has made it to the World Series here, they're still hoping to catch the Wizards for home field advantage. They're 2 games back on the Wizards heading into this game. But they're not able to get it done. Roger Clemens, in his last start of the regular season, allows 4 earned runs in 7 innings pitched. Nolan Ryan actually comes out on top of this one. He allows just 4 hits in 8 innings. He struck out 5, but he also walked 5 in this one. Satchel Paige picks up his 9th save as New York tops Detroit 4-1. So Detroit, desperately trying to get that home field advantage. It doesn't look good for them after this one. Let's head to St. Louis. Actually heading to Chicago. St. Louis facing Chicago at Wrigley Field. And the Wizards keep rolling. This time against Doc Gooden in his final start for the Docs. 7 innings pitched. He allowed 7 earned runs. Not a very good start for Gooden. Only struck out 4. Juan Marichal improves to 7-3 in his last start of the regular season. He's going to gear up for the World Series here. Likely to be the ace of the Wizards rotation in the World Series. Still yet to be determined, but it's looking pretty good. He finishes the regular season 7-3. He allowed 2 earned runs in this one in 8 innings for a 2.39 ERA. St. Louis takes this one 7-4. Larry Walker 3 for 5 with 4 RBI in this one. Albert Pujols, who we've been following on the last place Chicago Docs, he went 4 for 5 in this one to improve his average to 376. Now, he came in partway through the season once he retired from Major League Baseball. That made him eligible to join the Docs since he's not in the World Series, not in the Hall of Fame yet. And he had a slow start, but he's been hot lately. Probably won't qualify for a batting title. He won't have enough plate appearances for that, but if he did have enough plate appearances, he would be in the lead here probably for the batting title. So there you have it. Looking at the standings, we can see Detroit on top of the American League, 31-20. St. Louis tops the National League. Both teams going to the World Series. They now have a 3-game lead on Detroit with just 3 games left to play. So it's looking likely that St. Louis will have home field advantage in the World Series. Of course, there's other interesting stories to watch here. I'm not sure that I'll do kind of a game recap for every game going forward. I will still do the write-ups here on the website. But there are 3 days left of the regular season. Again, still to determine home field advantage, most likely the Wizards. They either need a Detroit loss or a St. Louis win in any of the next 3 games to clinch that. But there are the batting titles to keep watch of and final starts from some of these pitchers. So there'll still be some interesting stories to follow here. And then in a couple of weeks, we will begin the World Series. I do plan to play those games, record those games being played so you can watch along and follow the action during the World Series. So, with all of that said, hopefully you enjoyed this recap. You've enjoyed the season as it's progressed. We're almost to the finish line here. As always, you can head over to baseballmaelstrom.com to pick up on all the action, see all the stats, follow all of the stories. And if you enjoy this kind of content, consider clicking the like button. Consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss any action. I do have another project in mind, a project or 2 in the works once this one finishes up. So stay tuned for that one. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, have a great evening.